Welcome to our session on the Grand Challenges in Higher Education Assessment Project. I am Christine Robinson, one of the co-directors of the project. My colleague, Karen Singer-Freeman, is also a co-director on the project. I am asked what addressing a grand challenge can accomplish. It can do the following: enable research efforts and encourage progress on the most pressing problems, encourage collaboration on practical actions that impact student success at the national and local levels, encourage collaboration on practical actions that impact student success at the national and local levels, ensure that our work is transformative and address problems that can change the world, ensure our work offers meaningful, compelling, and positive stories to audiences beyond assessment professionals, capture the interest of the public, such as financial funding. Examples of grand challenges in other fields are improvement in childhood vaccines in global health, the creation of economical sources of solar energy in engineering, and the development of renewable fuel alternatives in chemistry. I am also asked, what is a grand challenge? So we adapted the characteristics of a grand challenge from Michael Gould and Michelle Steffen and her colleagues. Grand challenges are extremely hard to do, yet doable, produce positive outcomes affecting many persons, are associated with clear metrics and goals, capture the popular imagination, and garner political support. We examined recent publications in the assessment field to identify 10 grand challenges. We distributed a survey broadly, such as newsletters, listservs, emails, etc. We received 230 individual responses. This resulted in 4 grand challenges. So the 4 grand challenges are: use assessment findings to increase equity, use assessment findings to direct immediate pedagogical improvement, produce visible and actionable assessment findings that drive innovation, and use assessment findings to improve student learning and institutional effectiveness over time. For more details on the challenges, please reference the articles that Karen and I have co-authored in the Journal of Research and Practice in Assessment and an occasional paper. These are identified on the last page of our presentation, along with the links to those publications. I want to recognize the 10 organizations and 14 representatives from those organizations who endorsed the project, communicate and publicize about the project, develop structures, processes, and timelines for the project's efforts, and engage in reviewing strategic plans and providing feedback. Those listed in bold are also members of our steering committee. I also want to recognize and thank the co-chairs for each grand challenge. These co-chairs, along with the 10 endorsing organizations, are supporting the goals of the Grand Challenge Project, which are to increase awareness of the challenges and identify possible solutions, to increase cooperation in the field of assessment, to create actionable and meaningful strategic plans at the local and national level, and to attract resources to support achievement. My heartfelt thanks to all organizational representatives, co-chairs, and work group members for supporting our efforts and taking this journey with us. So this is a recap of our efforts since 2019, some of which I just reviewed, but we are also including our next steps in the project. Currently, we are at the peer review stage for strategic plans of each challenge. We invite you to participate in the review process. If you are interested in doing so, please email Karen with your contact information. To keep abreast of our progress, we encourage you to attend the 2021 AALHE conference, where we will roll out the final strategic plans. Also, we encourage you to attend the 2021 IUPUI Assessment Institute, where we will roll out the implementation plans for the national and local levels. Note that the 2021 IUPUI Assessment Institute is free again this year, thanks to the efforts of Stephen Hunley and his colleagues at IUPUI. Karen will now give you a sneak peek of a few goals and objectives for the challenges. You are the first national audience to hear this information. Thank you.
Right, so prove that you're doing your job. And this is really antithetical to the goal of assessment to guide improvement. So rather than looking at this as an evaluation of faculty, and rather than faculty feeling that they have to prove that they're doing something, we need to shift the conversation to sort of a Piagetian perspective. For those of you who are familiar with Piaget, that we learn the most from our failures. And so really rewarding and focusing on where have we failed and how can that lead to improvements. And so following from that, once we've identified and celebrated our failures, we need to create the safety to try something new. Because those of us in the field know that the first time you try an educational intervention or any intervention, you almost always fail. Because no matter how much you plan, you forget something. And so creating safety to try something and then try it again until you get to the place where you have it right. Our third pillar is rapid improvements in pedagogy. And I know that we're going to be hearing a lot about digital innovations and how they have changed education and assessment. And so this one really has to do with how do we capture technology and also just formative assessments, good old formative assessments, to make those changes and improvements more quickly for students. So the first thing is promoting knowledge of effective and equitable formative assessment practices. As the world shifted with COVID-19, we became very aware of the fact that some of the technology created inequities we hadn't considered before. And so this working group has been very cognizant of the fact that it's not okay just to say, we're going to use technology to make these rapid changes. And if the means go up, then that's success. But that we need to examine whether the subgroups within a larger group improve equally and equitably. Then we need to promote the use of assessment findings for rapid within course improvement of teaching and learning. So part of that has to do with communicating our data better, making it available in visualizations to faculty so they can see it in an immediate kind of way, but also with getting the idea that teaching should be constantly responsive to formative feedback from students. Them creating new models of assessment that track students' individual growth in courses and programs to see how individual students are being impacted by the changes that we make. And then studying to see how these rapid changes are supporting or perhaps serving as a barrier to equity. And then I know I'm running a little short on time. Our last pillar is continuous improvement, and this is both in institutional effectiveness and student learning. And a key goal of this group is to increase the use of integrated planning on a campus, where assessment data is guiding decisions about continuation or discontinuation or expansion of programs, where strategic planning is guiding budgeting, and where feedback is guiding strategic planning. So coming with this, we need institutions to adopt a change management strategy that encourages that honest accounting of the data, right? So we need, just like student learning assessment needs to be able to look at failure, within our institutions, we need to celebrate and examine failure. Automating and standardized reporting may be a piece of this because it can relieve some of the burden that we have from doing reports that could potentially be done by technology. And sharing best practices for tracking student learning over time can be a key piece of this, because when we only look at cohort data, we may be missing the cumulative effects of assessments and changes to programs and pedagogy. So I know that I am short on time now. but I believe these slides will be shared with you. We hope you'll visit our Grand Challenges webpage. You can sign up for our mailing list there. If you're interested in reviewing our strategic plans, today is actually officially the final day for peer review. But if you email me today, I will share the plans with you, and you can provide feedback to any or all of them. And if you got it in within the next day or so, I would be sure to make sure that it moved forward. And these are a podcast and 2 papers that give more detail about the literature that supported these 4 pillars that we've identified, as well as the other 6 challenges and sort of our thoughts for how the project will move forward. And with that, I turn it over to questions, comments, or thoughts. Oh, I think we saved those for the end, maybe. Am I right?
Yeah, and I mean, absolutely. And that's fantastic presentation. And I think it's really interesting. And I'd say quite a few people would be interested in getting involved in reviewing it. Just a quick little question. I mean, in the research that you've been doing, are you seeing a very, very big difference geographically? Or is your research having a more sort of particular geographic focus?
That's a great question. So almost exclusively, we currently have American members. We have 1 working group member from Italy, and I think maybe 1 or 2 from Canada. And the poll, maybe Christine remembers, but my recollection is the poll also largely drew from a US audience. And so to whatever extent your audience is international, we'd be very interested in getting that feedback. And these plans we're definitely hoping to expand beyond the United States, because I think the needs of the assessment community go well beyond, I think there's some international agreement.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure we can talk a little bit about it later on during the panel, but I think there's definitely some different interesting trends in different countries around the world as well.